There could be a massive trade coming for the Boston Red Sox with an unlikely name involved in it. I'm here to break down a recent article that suggests the Boston Red Sox and Craig Breslow specifically are attempting to get Marcelo Mayer up to the show quicker than later. I'm here to break down that recent article as well as other news surrounding the top prospects in the Boston Red Sox organization. Welcome back to Red Sox Digest. We'll break down all of that on this episode, but first please do remember to subscribe to the channel. If you're a part of the near 90% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed, we do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys. But now let's get to it and break down an attempt to get a top prospect to the show. And the top prospect we will be referencing and discussing in this video is none other than Marcelo Mayer. Now, the young man is a shortstop that we have discussed many times on this channel for good reason. The young man is a stud and still very, very young in his professional career. Now, in doing so, he's still down in AAA because of really the surplus of talent on the MLB level for the Boston Red Sox. During spring training, we saw Marcelo getting some reps late in spring training at second base because it seemed like there was a chance that he could be the young prospect called up instead of Christian Campbell. Thankfully not, as Campbell has been rolling. He actually just went yard in this game against the Toronto Blue Jays against Francis just seconds ago. The game is currently live. We're up 3-0 in the bottom of the second inning. It's great to see right now, and I'm thankful that Christian Campbell is the prospect playing second base for the Boston Red Sox. But it seems like there's a legitimate chance, based off this article, that Marcelo Mayer will be the next top prospect outside of Roman Anthony to join the show level, if you will, and get the start at shortstop instead of Trevor Story. So we're going to break down this article titled Red Sox Insider Predicts, quote, surprise trade that likely would be the $140 million two-time All-Star. And he is obviously addressing and referencing Trevor Story when he says that $140 million two-time All-Star. Now, we all know Trevor Story has been a monster for really the majority of his career, dating back to when he was playing with the Colorado Rockies. But it has been a long time since we have seen and witnessed Trevor Story go out there and put 135 plus games under his belt in a single season due to the injuries he has really been he has been dealing with through the entirety of his MLB and professional career. Now, to reference the article, he goes on to say a lot of elaborate things, and I'm not going to break down the entirety of the article, just the major quotes that gives us the idea that possibly Story could be on the move and how it could be a possible option for this Red Sox organization. So the article goes on to say, quote, somehow Craig Breslow has to come up with a way to make a series of moves that get Anthony and Mayer on the team, Abraham wrote for the Boston Globe, going on again to say, quote, that likely would entail moving Story's hefty contract, trading some players you'd rather not trade, balancing the lineup, and protecting the organization from the possibility Alex Bregman opts out after the season. Now, before we even get to the next quote that we're going to break down in this article, the idea that we are going off of the assumption that Alex Bregman is going to opt out after this season or 2 seasons later, because he does have 2 opt-outs in that contract the Boston Red Sox did give him this past offseason, is a bit aggressive, in my opinion. Alex Bregman has been crushing the baseball. He did go yard in this game as well that we referenced earlier, that is currently live against the Toronto Blue Jays, hitting his 6th home run against Francis, or his 6th home run overall this season against Francis. This 2nd home run of the game in the first inning, just behind Jarren Duran's leadoff home run. It seems like this Red Sox offense is really starting to click offensively. The at-bats from top to bottom involving including Tristan Casas, which is crazy to say as he's been struggling severely, have all greatly improved over the last stretch of games because the at-bats just look better, the swings look better, and it's resulting in good offense from the Boston Red Sox. And again, we covered it in the last episode on this channel about how Jarren Duran really is that X factor, and when he is out there playing baseball at a high level, it seems like the rest of this Red Sox team really follows suit, which is always fun to see because, again, on paper, this Red Sox offense is terrifying. Now back to Trevor Story and really what he gives you and what we would be losing if the Boston Red Sox did decide to trade him. Now, if you look at his Baseball Savant page as of today, before the game against the Toronto Blue Jays that is currently going on, there are a few things that Trevor Story does just about league average, if not just above league average, and then there are some things where he severely struggles with. And those things have been going on all season long. It's something we addressed earlier on this channel about the striking out and the expansion of the strike zone that Trevor Story really maintains. And that's something that, say, Don Rafaela, as well as a few others like Tristan Casas on this Red Sox lineup, have really done to a fault. And obviously, if you expand the zone, it is harder to hit the major league pitching. They are in the major leagues because they are gross. And even if they are considered a scrub in the major leagues, if you're on the bump, there's a good chance you are pretty damn good. And when you expand the strike zone and give them a larger target, it's not going to be a good result. And that's what we see with Trevor Story here. There's a lot of things that he does well, including hitting the ball very, very hard. He's in the 91st percentile of the entire MLB. But if you look at things like the chase rate, the whiff percentage, as well as the K percentage and walk percentage, they are way, way down compared to the league average. In the bottom percentiles across the board in all of those actual categories, including the squared up rate, which goes hand in hand with the chase rate. When you expand the zone, it is harder to barrel up the baseball. Rafael Devers just went yard. It was a no-doubter to right field, pulled the baseball 111 off the bat. The Red Sox offense is absolutely rolling right now. Sorry to get off topic, but Devers just tattooed a baseball. Francis has 60 pitches thrown through 3 innings with no outs. This is phenomenal to see. Or 2 innings with, and again, he's in the 3rd inning of work, and it's not going too well for him. But again, Story hitting the ball very hard, but that's when he's able to actually piece up the baseball and barrel up the baseball, which is something he's doing not at a good enough clip to really get away with it for the entirety of the season. Up to this point, he's batting .276, which is pretty damn good. But is it something we can really rely on the Red Sox and specifically Trevor Story to consistently do as the season goes on if he continues to really expand the strike zone and chase and whiff on as many pitches as he's doing up to this point? It's a good point that they could possibly look to trade him, as we know Trevor Story's contract is drastic, to say the least. We are obviously in the year 2025, and right now he's getting $22 million. Next year will be a player opt-out option for Trevor Story. If he decides to opt out, that would do a lot for the Boston Red Sox, as he would test the free agency market. But is it likely? Probably not, because there's not a good chance he's going to go out there and get anything relatively close to what Boston went out and gave him just a handful of years ago back in 2022. Now, outside of that, if he decides not to opt out, he will come back to the Boston Red Sox for 3 more seasons, which could result in handicapping the Boston Red Sox just a tad bit in the sense of finances. Now, if they decide to trade him and they can find a suitor to go out and get someone like Trevor Story, which would not just be a one-for-one trade in my opinion. I believe it would take a few pieces, including someone like, say, Don Rafaela, possibly even others, to get someone to go out there, in an organization to go out there and actually bite the bait in the sense of Trevor Story. Someone who statistically is putting up decent numbers, but when you really look into the at-bats and watch the at-bats and break them down, he's doing some things that are really just hard to look over. And again, I'm referencing the chase rate. I'm referencing expanding the strike zone, which is resulting in a whole lot of whiffs, not a lot of barreled balls. And it's just not good overall. The fielding is subpar to begin with at such a prime position at shortstop. Someone who's aging in Trevor Story, already 32 years of age. It's going to be very difficult and very hard to assume that a team out there will be able to go out there and trade and actually be willing to take Trevor Story's contract and really the player that he is up to this point in his career, up to this point in the season. Wilyer Abreu just hit a 3-run shot. The Red Sox are up 7-0 through two full innings. There's no outs in the 3rd. This is awesome. The Red Sox are rolling. Back to the article. I'm sorry I'm all over the place. The game is live. The article goes on to say that, which is what we're going to conclude with, quote, "But if the Sox are still muddling around at 500 a month from now and Anthony and Mayer are still crushing AAA pitching, something is going to have to give." End of quote. He added, "Prediction, somebody will be traded that will be a big surprise." And now, is Story being moved a big surprise? Absolutely. With the contract that is being involved and surrounded and connected to Trevor Story, it's very hard to assume that he will be traded. And really, not in the sense that the Red Sox will be willing to trade him, but in the sense that another team would be willing to go on and take on that contract for an aging veteran who has had a lot of injury problems throughout the entirety of his career. If we look at his really year-by-year log for Trevor Story, and you notice the games played. Obviously, in his rookie year, he played 97. Then he had a stretch of 3 years straight where he played 140-plus games, which is a phenomenal standard, especially for someone in Trevor Story. If you look, went on to play 59 games. Then he had 142, which was an outlier. As the next 4 years, he went on to play 94, 43, and 26. And obviously, we are now in 2025, where he has played 30 games up to this point, which is relatively impressive. He hasn't missed any time up yet. But, again, is it something the Red Sox are going to want to gamble with and take a chance on when they have such a young prospect in Marcelo Mayer, who's only 22 years of age, who is absolutely demolishing baseballs? Now, compared to other top prospect in Roman Anthony, Mayer has not been the best out of the two top prospects. But Mayer at shortstop brings you great defense with a good bat that we saw during spring. That was pretty damn good, without a doubt. And yes, it is only spring. We saw we saw multiple people during spring severely struggle and then come out into the regular season and flat out shove. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. I can't wait to see if the Red Sox actually attempt to deal someone in Trevor Story. Let me know down below what your prediction is for this massive opportunity for the Boston Red Sox. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.